Welcome, everyone. I am Ward 2 Alderman Will Stewart, and I'm here today with Chaz Newton, the Solid Waste and Environmental Programs Manager for the City of Manchester Department of Public Works. And today we're here to talk briefly about composting and the reduction of the incredible amount of food waste Manchester sends to the landfill each year. Welcome, Chaz.
Thank you very much for having me, Alderman Stewart. I'm very happy to be here and excited to answer any questions and provide residents with answers they may be seeking.
Yeah, no, thank you definitely for being here. And we have what I consider a very interesting topic here today, and that's food waste, something that I think a lot of us don't think too much about. I know I certainly didn't, a little bit more than a year ago. But the reason we're bringing this up today is because starting in early June, homeowners in Manchester began receiving composting brochures with their water and sewer bills. What's the impetus behind this?
So the motivation for us sending the food composting brochures to residents comes from we, as a society, continuously trying to make a difference in our communities and the world, especially here at the Department of Public Works, where these are just some of our many tasks and priorities. Per the Environmental Protection Agency and the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, landfilling is actually the least desirable method of waste disposal. Very few municipalities and states have put out information about food composting and how it is a clean alternative option for waste disposal in order to preserve our land, environment, and our overall health. We wanted to provide residents with information about food composting to hopefully begin making a change in our environment to pave a path for our future.
No, definitely, a laudable goal. One of the things, speaking of the brochure, that really caught my eye, it said the brochure stated that food scraps, the little bits of leftover food we scrape off our plate after every meal, make up nearly 25% of our waste. That struck me as a lot anyway. Is that a Manchester specific number?
So that's not a Manchester specific number. Manchester has not yet completed a pilot program to retrieve specific numbers. The 25% of food scraps is a national and state figure that is taken from the Environmental Protection Agency, USDA, and again, the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. The three of these agencies have a range of 20 to 30%, being that our waste is food scraps. So 25% is a lot more than I'm sure people would think. In fact, this is actually a ratio that includes recyclable materials. So when we consider, all of our waste in general, recycling may consist of 50%, food scraps 25%. So really you're left with just a small amount that can or should actually be landfilled and doesn't have an option to be diverted at all. So if we as a municipality diverted all of our food scraps into food composting bins, this would reduce Manchester's landfill tonnage from 38,000 tons to 28,500 per year.
That's significant. But I have to wonder though, and again, I don't know the science behind these things, but what's wrong with food scraps just going to the landfill like our other waste? Won't it just decompose there?
So as time goes on, environmentalists are learning more and more about decomposition in landfills, what we should divert from landfill and what does not need to be diverted. Unfortunately, there is still a small percentage of material that we use in our everyday lives that cannot be diverted, such as styrofoam or chip bags. When materials begin to decompose in a landfill, leachate, CO2, and methane gas is produced, which is generally captured through pipes and then burnt. We are fortunate with the current status of our landfill, which closed in 1996. However, many landfills produce a lot of leachate and methane gas that seeps into the soil, thus seeping into our earth.
So yeah, it sounds like definite significant environmental impacts from diverting that food waste from the landfill. But what about financial benefits? You mentioned kind of reducing that landfill tonnage, and of course the city pays, taxpayers pay to send materials to the landfill. How much? Do you have any idea how much taxpayers could save if we weren't sending food scraps to the landfill?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now, the city of Manchester, again, produces approximately 38,000 tons of waste per year. We are currently paying $70.15 per ton, which equates to a little over $2.5 million per year for us to throw away our trash. This disposal rate is actually very low compared to the market rate right now. If we diverted the 25% of our food scraps, we would save approximately $667,000 per year from waste disposal. I also believe that the 25% is a relatively safe number to use. So there's probably greater opportunity there than what I am stating. If you look at the brochure, specifically the acceptable items page, there's a lot of items and materials on that list that we use in our everyday lives and use a lot of. People would be surprised with how much they are putting into their compost bins, I think.
So, at present, the city does not offer, municipal collection of food scraps as it does trash and recycling collection. So this means, residents who don't want their food scraps going to landfill either need to compost themselves, and I know some people who do that, or contract with a vendor to pick up and compost their food scraps. And the brochure that was sent out, again, with those water bills, lists 3 such composting food scrap vendors, including Renewal Compost, a new Manchester-based company. How and why were these vendors in particular selected to be included in the brochure?
So we've either met with or talked to over 5 different composting vendors in the New Hampshire and Massachusetts region, and it was great learning from each and every one of them. That being said, we wanted to limit the amount of vendors that we referenced as prospective in the brochure based off of reliability of pickups, existing customer reviews, willingness to help Manchester grow and learn on this new endeavor. Most importantly, knowing that all of the food scraps are going to where the vendor says, which is why we are doing this in the first place. We know that all of our prospective vendors are consistently bringing the food scraps to farms or even their personal facilities to produce soil for reuse. Some vendors even offer to give you the soil in return that you have produced from diverting waste from landfill.
Definitely a win-win there.
Yeah.
So how do the services, work? I know when we're talking food scraps, I mean, these are things that, could attract bugs or, mice or anything like that. How do you get the food scraps to these companies? How do they pick them up? Sounds kind of gross.
So although all of the prospective vendors run their operation a little different, the service is generally the same from the resident's perspective. So you would eat your food just like normal. You sort through the scraps and make sure to know what your vendor accepts and does not accept, because some of them have minor differences with acceptable items. And some of them provide a little bucket that you can put the food scraps in, and I think a lot of people would be surprised, and again, to your point, think that it would be smelly. However, I've heard feedback that you cannot smell it at all, or you can just simply place it in an area where you're like a porch of some sort, where you're not really going to be able to, if you think that you can smell it, you can hide it out there as well to alleviate that scent. But then you place your bin on either the curb or your front steps of your collection day, which is also dependent on the vendor. Day of the week is also dependent on chosen vendor too. Your vendor will then replace your bin with another on the pickup day, or simply remove the liner from within. Material is then composted and turned into rich soil. The soil can then be purchased, or sometimes, again, residents receive a free bucket or a bag in return. And then you can use this soil for growing your garden or whatever else you can find use for. This soil is exceptionally rich because it is all natural from compostable material.
Nice. And just to clarify, these services, these vendors, you do have to pay them out of pocket, correct?
Yes, you do. Yes. Each one, again, offers different types of subscriptions. Some offer weekly pickups, some offer bi-weekly pickups. It's, whatever you feel you are, or however quickly you feel you're filling up your bins, or you would fill up your bin. But yes, that is purchased on the side, and this is totally voluntary as well.
Sure, of course. And I'll be happy to throw some of the links down in the chat of those three recommended vendors that are there in the brochure, as well as some of the other information the city has on this. As we wrap up, just one more question. I know we've been talking exclusively about food waste here, but what about yard waste, like leaves and grass clippings? Can they be composted too, or otherwise diverted from the landfill?
Yeah, thank you for asking about the grass clippings and yard trimmings. Dumping yard trimmings and leaves near bodies of water, even stormwater drains, are illegal in the state of New Hampshire. So the decomposition of yard trimmings and leaves actually uses oxygen that aquatic life needs in order to live. It also blocks the sun and smothers plant life. That being said, the aforementioned material is a good substance to add to food scraps for composting because it balances out the carbon nitrogen ratio while composting. Landfilling yard trimmings and leaves is not the best option for our environment because this actually increases the production of harmful chemicals such as that methane and leachate that I mentioned earlier. Manchester's curbside collection of yard waste is already going to nearby farms for composting because the city of Manchester, along with much of the nation, observes this material as a recyclable and reusable material that is easy to separate. So recycled yard waste is often used for mulch, which gives it the natural dark brown aesthetic quality without dyes.
I've read too that speaking of grass clippings in particular, that mowing the grass and just letting your grass clippings fall and I guess kind of decompose naturally on your lawn is actually good for the lawn itself.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it gives again that natural. The grass is natural in itself, so as it seeps into your existing grass and your existing soil, it's going to help just grow that grass even more rich and well done.
Very good to know, since we are, of course, here in the middle of mowing season, and we'll
Yes.
for at least another couple of 2 or 3 months here. But Chaz, thank you again for taking the time to talk about composting and the importance of diverting food scraps and grass clippings and other yard waste from our landfills. So again, everyone, here today with Chaz Newton, the Solid Waste and Environmental Programs Manager for the City of Manchester Department of Public Works. Thank you, Chaz.
Thank you again for having me.
Have a great day, everyone.